Respected Mr. Shantinarayan, sir, distinguished panelists and guests, and ladies and gentlemen. One of my heroes is a Japanese-American guy called Michio Kaku. He teaches future studies at Harvard. And his very simple formula is, if you want to run a successful business, look for where there is aggravation and pain in people's lives and remove it. This was his simple formula for a successful business. I'm going to talk a little bit about moving people. And since a lot of mobility is done both for people and for cargo, and I heard in the last session people speak about last mile connectivity even for cargo, I'm going to speak a little bit about that. But a little bit, one or two words about disruption that is happening, and it's not only in technology like user interface, but it is happening in actual physical technologies that are enabling new applications to happen. So I am going to speak a little bit about a system that can move people and cargo in the last mile. Can you imagine in future that there is maybe only 3 forms of transport? One is the plane for long distance, intercontinental or within the continent long distances. There is the other one, which is the high-speed train that links cities over distances. And there is the last mile technology that distributes people and goods within the city. This is the future in my view. And it is beginning to happen. By the way, we are doing this in one province in China, or we are about to do this. We are about to link 14 cities in a province, both for people and for small cargo. We have also built a system at London Airport where we have moved 6.5 million people. There is a gentleman here from the Airports Authority who we have a long association with. And we have carried in London, Heathrow Airport, about 6.5 million people. This is called the PRT. This is called the pod. So I'll start with a few slides only, if you don't mind. Mr. Modi recently said that mobility is like the internet in the early days. It is the next big innovation sector. He said this in September. And his vision for this was that there must be 7 C's, and here are the 7 C's. I would like to say that we are reaching the 7 C's very quickly. There is just a little bit of word about how transport and mobility is the biggest opportunity in human history ever. Merrill Lynch called this a $7 trillion opportunity, the biggest ever opportunity. And there are many, many things that are happening. For example, you use your car only 2.5% of the time. Any asset that you use when you run a business only 2.5% of the time, that business is ripe for disruption. There is too many things that are happening, and they're happening at lightning speed. There are some trends. One is, as somebody mentioned, user interface, mobility on call. Use your phone and you get a car to move. Second is EVs, electrification. That is another big trend that is happening. The third is autonomous. Now there are autonomous trains. There are running one, in fact, in Delhi, metro. Autonomous is the other big trend. There's another thing that is being talked about, which is TaaS, transport as a service, but that gets into a little more complexity. So this is what we are in London, and we have achieved 99.3% efficiency in London over 7 years. But I'm not going to talk about us, I'm going to talk about some concepts. This is the environmental energy efficiency of various modes of transport. Clearly, cycling and walking is the lowest carbon footprint. But this actually compares all the other modes. We are getting to this place. So there is no what you need to do in anything you move, either people or goods, is energy efficiency. And this impacts on the environment, the pollution. Otherwise, we all live in Delhi, and we're going to not live for 10 years longer than we should have. This is the global emissions, and the last mile connectivity will save, in our view, 12% of entire carbon emissions globally, if you have last mile solutions for people and for goods. This is considering only 2,000 cities in the world. This is just how it works. I'm not going to go into that. Let's look at any city center. When you have to provide logistics to get your goods into the city, there are all sorts of methods that are used. Forgive me, I'm not going to talk about intercity, I'm going to talk about within the city, because that is a huge problem as well for the last mile delivery. This might be any city in the world. What you need to have is a connection with a railway or a MRT, and you need to have guideways that are flexible, that take you all over the place. These are elevated, so there is no conflict. And with the traffic, you can complete a 1-hour journey in 10 minutes without stopping anywhere, no traffic whatsoever, and so on. Now, how does this work with the metro or with the railway? Let me take the metro here for an example. Typically, all metros, except for the Delhi Metro, in India, there are about 15 under construction or have been completed and a lot more planned. Last mile is always a problem. In some cities, they're spending thousands of crores, but it covers only 4 or 5% of the city's population. Delhi Metro, which has done a commendable job, is the 3rd or 4th largest metro in the world, has taken maybe 20 years to get to where it is. You need to have last mile between, from metro stations. You could, if you have the last mile, you could actually increase the distance between metro stations, make the metro cheaper, and increase the ridership on the metro because there is a first mile and last mile solution. This will make the metro more profitable, it will make the last mile connectivity more profitable, it will make a faster journey, it will make one journey from origin to destination without the anxiety and the pain. I am taking an example of Ahmedabad here. This is the BRT. BRT works very well in Ahmedabad. Here are the metro lines in Ahmedabad. You can see there are a lot of gaps in between. Here is the influence zone of the entire transport system, BRT and MRT. This is what we have proposed in Ahmedabad, with stations here. And if you say that if you are able to walk 5 minutes from the stations, you cover 40% of the city, 5 minutes. If you want to walk 10 minutes, you cover 73% of the city. And if you want to walk 15 minutes, you cover 92% of the city. This is what is needed both for people and for goods. I will skip this slide, but to say that last mile solutions that we provide are much, much more energy efficient than anything else. Here is how you integrate a metro station or a railway station with a last mile connectivity. This is just a conceptual drawing, but this can easily be done. Absolutely easily be done. Or you can connect it with a bus stand. Or you can connect it with a multi-level car park. It can go inside buildings so that you don't have to carry anything from station to your destination. Small animation here. So a train or a metro comes to the metro station, and you have your last mile things going to schools, to residences, to offices, and delivering people and goods. This is a common site everywhere in India, in all the major cities. It is a major site anywhere in the world. Jakarta is the worst. Ho Chi Minh City is worse. you have this elevated, which does not conflict with any of the traffic on the road. So what you do is you remove aggravation, you increase productivity, and you improve the environment. This, as I said at the beginning, you remove aggravation from people's lives, it reduces cost, and it makes something. Medical emergencies, the golden hour, you could actually reach somebody to an emergency room in a hospital, and all medical supplies into hospitals by this. Safe journeys to school. You put the kids, you don't have to accompany them. No more school buses that are stuck in traffic. Women's safety, which is a big issue now. If there's any incident that happens within the car, you have a manual override that takes you straight into the police station. There's no need for any evidence after that because there's a camera in the car. This is what I wanted to speak to you about. You have the logistics centers outside the city, and you bring in small containers. These containers can be in the existing cars. These can be half a ton, and they can go into any destination that you might want. Here is your last mile for small goods, for shop supplies, for office supplies, for all of that. There is another thing that works pretty well, and that is in the non-peak hours when the human traffic is not there. Then you carry cargo like this. You have pallets, and you have larger containers which can carry a ton, ton and a half, and they can take you directly in the city for last mile connectivity. We did this for Changi Airport, a plan which is yet to be implemented for the baggage handling on the air side. I was speaking to you about this. So this is for small. This removes a lot of aggravation in distribution within cities. And of course, what happens is it can be used 200 times a day. The vehicle is used 200 times a day because it is small, it is fast, and the other stuff gets stuck on roads with traffic jams or have large turnaround times or are stopping at every station and spending time at every station. This will take you from origin to destination. Here is Varanasi. How would you move goods here? I did a project 20 years ago in Varanasi on the Ghats. We had to hire donkeys at night to take them through the narrow gullies of the Ghats. That is the only logistics that we could do in Varanasi. This can go anywhere. Here is Chengdu, which we are doing in China. This is a high-rise city, and you can see the guideways all over the city. This is just a short animation here. You can see the guideways within the city fabric. And this makes it so much simpler. Here is another view of how the guideway works. It is unobtrusive. It can be done very, very fast. 2 kilometers can be built in a month. And all your goods and people can move very easily. Here is a link with the Chengdu railway station. So you have in summary, what we need is a last mile solution because this is a pain. You can move goods from city to city by railway, by road, by waterways, but then what happens? Thank you very much. There were two technologies that changed the world. I don't count the car. In the 19th century, it was the railway. And 21st century, maybe it is us. Thank you very much.